थोड़ा बातें करते हुए। नमस्कार, पीएमसी गुजरात पे आप सभी मित्रों का स्वागत है बुक रीडिंग स्वाध्याय सीरीज में। यहाँ पर हम स्पिरिचुअल बुक्स को पढ़ते हैं और अभी हमारी बुक चल रही है डाइंग टू वेक अप। नियर डेथ एक्सपीरियंस पर यह बुक है। डॉक्टर राजीव पार्थी जो एक डॉक्टर हैं, एनेस्थेसिया के डॉक्टर हैं, ऑपरेशन के दौरान वो आउट ऑफ बॉडी हो जाते हैं, उनका हार्ट स्टॉप हो जाती है और कई स्पिरिट रिलम के कई अनुभवों को लेकर आते हैं और फिर वो विवाह हो जाते हैं। यह अनुभव इतना पावरफुल है, इतना स्ट्रांग है कि वो जिस करियर को पाने के लिए उन्होंने इतनी सालों की जद्दोजहद की थी, वो भारत में दिल्ली में एम्स से एमबीबीएस करने के बाद, पेडिट्रिशियन करने के बाद एनेस्थेसिया को करते हैं। वो मेडिकल प्रोफेशन ही उन्होंने स्विच किया, वो कॉन्शियसनेस हीलिंग में आ गए। वो एक्सपीरियंस इतना पावरफुल था और अभी हम जब रोज सुन रहे हैं तो हमें भी लग रहा है कि ये वास्तव में जो पढ़ना भी इतना पावरफुल है कि हमारी लाइफ को ट्रांसफॉर्म कर सकता है। तो 24 चैप्टर इस बुक में है, तो आज हम इसके लास्ट पड़ाव पे हैं। आखिरी के 2 चैप्टर आज हम देखेंगे और मेरे साथ जुड़ी हुई हैं डॉक्टर चंदना जो बेंगलोर से हैं, एंड डॉक्टर चंदना इज ए कार्डियक सर्जन। तो लेट्स स्टार्ट। डॉक्टर चंदना, आप जो डाइंग टू वेक अप में आपको किस तरह से प्रभावित किया बुक, पहले उस बुक में थोड़ा सा बताएं और उसके बाद फिर हम चैप्टर पे चलें।
Thank you, Dr. Ranjan, and very good evening to all of you. I'm so blessed to be here with you all to share few of my experiences also, along with why I have been inspired to read this book. See, first thing is what attracted to me is, like I started reading the first few paragraphs or the first chapter, and then I realized that this guy is a cardiac anesthetist. He's not just the regular anesthetist, he was a cardiac anesthetist. So that inspired me to read, go on reading about it, because almost like from 20 years, I have been reading on and off books about life after life. Raymond Moody का जो पहला initial books था, वो सब मैं पढ़ चुकी हूँ. तो इतना, I mean, वो दिलचस्पी नहीं है, like, just to going on reading about somebody's NDE doesn't really, like, get the interest on. But because he was a cardiac anesthetist, I was like really interested to know, because cardiac surgery is one thing where it is like a teamwork. So all of us have to work like a team. And most often we have to work with cardiac anesthetists and, the teams are formed and somehow you need to have a very good trust factor with them. So I was so curious to know, and like what this man had to tell us. I mean, like, see, it is such a left-brained cardiac surgery stream itself is like, everything is like, it's your left brain which dominates the most, and your decision making, you have to be aware of so many things. It's not like general surgery. Cardiac surgery doesn't give you much margin of error. So you need to be so quick. So I was like curious to know, like, in between all this, how did this man get inspired to write a book about NDE? So even if somebody has experienced NDE, or, they will again get back to their normal cardiac anesthesia profession and then try to forget it, or like, somehow push it under the carpet. But it has not happened like that with him. So I was like really curious to know what all changes have happened for this man not to go back to that path. Like, not to go back to the mundane, routine, materialistic life. So what were the experiences which transformed him? What were the experiences, like, which was like a chain link? It was like one after the other, things were revealed to him. So, it was like a confirmation. One step confirms the next step. Then the next step gives confirmation for something which is going to come further. So that journey was a beautiful thing. So once I started reading it, I couldn't stop it. So in fact, I have read Brian Weiss, almost all the books of Brian Weiss, and Raymond Moody's books also I have read. I have few of them. So this was not a new chapter to me, but because he was a cardiac anesthetist, and I know how the brains of an anesthetist and a cardiac surgeon works. It's like, it's very dominant left brain activity. It's like there's no time for you to think of anything else. So in that, if this man has been profoundly affected by this journey, and he has made it a point to tell it to everyone, because writing a book is like having an impact over so many people. So that's what inspired me to read this book. So with that, I would like to start. So let's see what happens in Rajiv Parthi's journey. So हम आगे chapter 23rd पर पहुंचे हैं. So I would like to share my screen. I have made a small PPT. So Rajiv Parthi had his NDEs. He had a feeling of disbelief. He didn't know what to do with the experience. He was in a state of confusion. He didn't know whom to tell. Firstly, he didn't even know whom he should tell. Because when people had told him about NDE, he had actually like brushed it aside, saying that this, I mean, most often we label it as ICU psychosis. Anything and everything we just label the patient as, patient might be having ICU psychosis, and we just treat them. So that's exactly what this man was doing. And then when he had to experience, he had to go through the same thing. It was a role reversal. Suddenly he was the patient. He was a patient who had a near-death experience. And then he was in a confusion because he was in such a profession which was so scientific, evidence-based medicine he was practicing. So it was not easy for him to first accept that whatever he went through was something divine, something totally different. And then second thing is he didn't know whom to tell. So first when he tried sharing it with his colleague, it was brushed aside. So then when he started sharing with his wife, she gave a hearing and she said, okay, it's like just a dream and maybe he'll just come over it. But then it was not a dream. And most NDEs, as we know by now, most of the people who are in this field would have known by now that NDE will always have a profound impact. It is not something which will go away. It is not something which you can do away with, because the effect is so strong, so moving, that the person will not be able to push it under the carpet. So that's exactly what happened. So now this man was slowly, he was reading all the spiritual books, religious books. He was trying to find out कि क्या ये सच है, जो भी हुआ वो सच है क्या, या like, you know, can I believe it? Can I trust it? And you know, then what he did was he started reading spiritual books and religious books. Of course, some of the books gave him answers, and through that he was inspired to start meditating. So, and he also decided that he wanted to do away with this materialistic life where everything was about making money, getting the cuts, getting higher up in his profession, making more money, buying a big house. So all that was like, you know, kind of pushed aside. Suddenly, you know, there is an emptiness. So you're like living a life, one particular life, and suddenly the whole core, which is like, you know, where the life revolves around, if that core is taken away, there will be an amount of emptiness. This all of us would have experienced. Like initially when you come into the spiritual path, you realize that, okay, the way I was studying for exams, or the way I was so passionately into, like, you know, I have to get ahead of this person, I have to get ahead of that person, that competitive spirit drops. And then you start retrospecting, what is it actually you want to do with your life? What is the purpose of your life? So same thing happened to Rajiv Parthi. So he decided to take a sabbatical. He wanted to take the sabbatical from his profession. And so he decided to move to Aruba. So now Aruba is a small island where his son was studying there. So we all know that he didn't have a good rapport with his son, especially the eldest one, Raghav. And so he, like, you know, reluctantly went there. So, but at the same time, they made sure that they were not, you know, creating that friction which was there before. So this man had realized that he had to be a better father. That thought had come. So now he wanted to know how to emotionally connect to his son. So that might have been one of the reasons why he moved there. So the son was busy with his studies at the medical college. And we also know by now that the son was not so keen to take a medical profession, though both his parents had some medical background. So now for the father, Rajiv, it was like time to get deeper into meditations. He wanted to read a lot of books on religious and spiritual importance. Then at the same time, he was still struggling. NDE is a very profound experience. You don't know how much to believe. Your scientific brain says that, this is all like hodgepodge and you don't have to believe this. Like just get on with life. And yet the experience is so profound, it will just pull you back to what it is. So he started deconstructing the whole process and trying to understand what he went through. And then he devised this forgiveness meditation. So this, when he started practicing this meditation, it helped him to connect better with his elder son, to become more compassionate towards him. But still, we all know that his son Raghav was not keen on taking up medicine. Yet this man had kind of insisted or told him to go ahead with it. Has to continue the same practice, and so that's how it will be. So now what happened is with Rajiv Bharti also, it was the same thing. I mean, he was in a society, he was in a place where everything was like, the status or the even educational status was like so important. So having a kid who would get into medical was something like a huge matter of pride. It was like, a trophy, like not to tell his friends or his peers that yes, my son is into medical field now. So in between now he is slowly changing at Aruba, through meditations, through retrospection, through reading the religious books and spiritual books. He started retrospecting, and most often, um, so eventually one question that kept coming was, so is his pride forcing his son to continue in a profession which he didn't like? But then again, it would come back to, no, I think I know what is best for my son. I know that I need to push him further. I know that I need to support him. So, he had these kind of thoughts. So soon the semester was over and Raghav cleared his exams. So, as any normal parent would think, he thought, see, I have done the right thing for my son. I have pushed him. So it became a positive reinforcement for Rajiv to think that his decision to push his son forward was the right thing to do. It is like, see, he's doing well at studies and he is doing well for himself. So that means this is the path for him. It's like made and set. And being a stern father, by being a father who pushed him a little harder, I think I have achieved the goal and I have made sure my son is in the right path. So this was his thought. So once the exams were over and the son, finished his exams, like father and son both returned to California for Thanksgiving. So Arpana, his wife, met them at airport, and all of them were very happy. And for the first time, the son hugged the father and thanked him. So during the same process, I think what the son would have experienced is like his father being there with him in the evening times. They were spending some time, and the father used to like prepare tea while this guy used to study. So all those things, I think, slowly they could connect emotionally. And when they came home for Thanksgiving, I think they had a lot of things to thank for. So Thanksgiving actually turned meaningful for the family. So Thanksgiving is something which is celebrated in US and other countries, mainly as for the harvest of the preceding year. Like how here we celebrate Pongal, Sankranti, or Baisakhi in the north. So I think it's something similar to that. So it is like, it's where you thank for all the good things in life. So they usually have a nice dinner, Thanksgiving dinner. So before the next semester began, Raghav had to pass the USMLE. So he had finished 2 years. And now this is when he has to apply for the USMLE and pass it, because this is the exam which will make sure that he has to pass this exam to know what is his level of knowledge, one thing. And mainly they will check the aptitude of the person for being in the medical profession. So for this exam, the parents thought, okay, let's allow Raghav some time to prepare for the exam. And they were supportive during that time. So during this time, Rajiv's mind came up with many questions and many thoughts. He was like, he felt, he would be a proud father. He would be a successful father if the son became a doctor. It is a matter of immense pride when you want to tell your relatives or peers that, so-and-so is a doctor. I mean, my son or daughter is a doctor. So at the same time, he had a conflicting thought. What if he didn't want to be a doctor? What if he didn't succeed with the exam? See, the first 2 semesters, he cleared the exams very comfortably with hard work, as any above average student would do. So it was like, there were totally conflicting thoughts in his mind, saying that, I'm pushing my son and that is the right thing. And another thought which is saying, no, maybe what if he doesn't want to be a doctor? Then am I not pushing him in the wrong path? And then he would think, though I have had an NDE and though I have experienced something divine, if this guy doesn't continue with his medical profession, will I become the same angry father that I was before? So that was another thought. So there were 3-4 conflicting thoughts which were meddling his head. So he didn't know what to do. Like, as normal parents feel like, he was protective about his son, yet he didn't know what was the right choice for his son. So he discussed with his friend Naresh. And Naresh, we know by now that he had his own debilitating illness, which was taking away. He had liver mets, and he was undergoing therapy for all that. And it's a very painful process. So by now with Naresh, he had established a very good emotional connect, especially after he confessed the near-death experience or shared that near-death experience with Naresh. For Naresh also, it was like, it was symbiotic for both of them. Naresh felt more peace after listening to all this. And for this man, Rajiv, it became much easier to share it with. And since he felt Naresh is a good friend and he wouldn't be judgmental about him, it was much easier to openly talk about it. So with this background, when he spoke about his son, Naresh told him very clearly, I know the truth because I am sick, and you know it because you experienced NDE. And he told very clearly that, your son, he has his own life to lead. He has to choose his profession. And ask him, he tells him, he prods him, please talk to your son. Ask him whether he's actually interested in going back to his medical profession. So before it's too late and spoiling his career, please ask him what he wants to do with his life. And don't try to tell him what he needs to do. So this man was again still in confusion. He spoke to one friend. Friend said like this, and wife was also like in a dilemma. She also didn't know what was, right for her son. So then he discussed it with his sister. So his sister, 2 years before that, would have lost her son in a freak accident. And that would have actually devastated her. So when he spoke to her, the only reply she gave was, be happy that you have your son. I would do anything to have these kind of problems. And that's when he realized, like, life is so precious that, rather than fighting so much with each other or creating so much friction, I think it's important to have a state of gratitude and solve issues amicably. So then again, he came back to his wife again, discussed it with Arpana. And then Arpana again told the same thing. She said, love him for what he is. And also she reminded him, what the NDE experience had taught him or what he had shared in the NDE experience. She reminded him. And I think this is one of the important reasons why we need to have the right friends or the good friends or good companions, because even even if somebody has received the message, at the right time, somebody else coming and telling you or reminding you the message itself is so important. So she says, we have to face the fact, if our son doesn't want to pursue medical profession, I think we should let him go out of this profession and let him choose his own career. Then after discussing so much with friends, with sister, then with wife, finally he mustered enough courage to go and speak to Raghav. So Raghav also was in a dilemma. He was like the obedient son. He wanted to be excelling at his studies and making sure that his parents felt proud about him. And so he told the truth. He possibly by that time, the emotional connect they had at Aruba helped Rajiv's son also to open up more easily. So he told that, I don't know what to say, but I don't think this is the profession for me. And finally, Rajiv makes the decision that, fine, we'll move on then. So the decision was made for the family that Raghav will not pursue medical career and he will choose something that he likes. So coming to the next chapter is the shared death experience. Now, this is something which was new for me also because I had not read about this. So it was something amazing. So Naresh continued to meditate. Naresh was his best friend and now he had accepted his fate because despite meditating like the way Rajiv was, he was possibly expecting some kind of a cure, some kind of a miracle, but it was not happening. So there was no other choice but to accept his fate. Since he was in the terminal stages and the terminal illness is difficult to reverse, at least it's not like the initial stages of any disease. So Naresh's wife Neelam would stay by his side holding his hand. And when she wasn't around, Rajiv would be there to support him. So for Rajiv and Naresh, the bond that they nurtured helped each other to blossom spiritually also. So they talked about everything, like, the things they wanted to achieve, the things which they achieved in the past, and what was important about spirituality, meditation, yoga, everything. And what really made Rajiv feels bad or feel kind of very vulnerable was when Naresh says that he wanted to actually see his children grow up, which wouldn't be possible because of his illness. And as I said, meditation and yoga did help Naresh. I mean, because it calmed him up. He had so much of fear. He had so much fear of death. So I think that is one thing which was helped. And though he didn't have any major experience, like if you see Rajiv's experience, it is something which is tremendously out of the normal, something extraordinary. But when Naresh was practicing, no, this kind of comparisons normally happen. So Naresh felt that he hasn't had any major light experience. But then he realized that even feeling peaceful and calmly able to accept the fate itself was like a blessing. So when Rajiv expresses and says that, you haven't had anything like, a major spontaneous healing, or when you haven't, he feels sorry that, meditation and yoga wasn't working. But then Naresh says like sometimes, even just feeling peaceful itself is a blessing. So as the last stage of Naresh arrives, the last moments arrive. So Rajiv will have a SDE. So in his words, what happens is that, so as he was awakened one night with a bright light, by a bright light. So he saw Naresh And he saw Naresh, who was appearing much younger, and he was smiling. And the whole room was lit up, and he was like floating outside. And the room's dimension also began to expand, as if it was like becoming a large balloon, a spherical structure. And he was experiencing something totally out of the normal. And he stood holding hands with Naresh, and a portal also opened up, where both of them uh, they went through the portal, and the room was flooded with more light. So they steadily moved towards a bright light, and this is the same bright light which Rajiv had encountered when he was experiencing his NDE. So this time, some being emerged from the light. So it was a tall man with a beard. And so Rajiv asked him, "So who are you?" So he says, "I am Jesus, your savior." So, and that being Lord Jesus, he says, "This is not the time for you to leave the earth. So please go back and spread the message of universal love or the Christ consciousness." So as soon as he says, "I am Jesus," this man, with full reverence, he says, "Namaste." He falls at his feet. And then when Jesus tells him to leave, he gives him a hug and says, and he gets blessed by Jesus. And he also gets a direction saying that from now on, your name shall be Michael. You'll be strong and you'll help the sick. So after this, the whole thing suddenly disappeared. And he realized that on the other side of the portal, Jesus, Naresh, and other light beings were there, and Rajiv was on the opposite side. And then he suddenly awoke. So he also made sure that his wife was woken up, and he told her what happened. And Arpana possibly intuitively felt that, Naresh might have passed away. So she tells him to call Neelam. But Rajiv thinks that like calling in the middle of the night might not be a nice thing. So he goes to their house in the early morning. And when he goes there, Neelam tells him when Naresh actually passed away. And that will be the same time that the portal opened in his room and he encountered SDE and experienced the presence of light beings. So this is his journey. And so there were two experiences here. There was an NDE and there was an SDE. So now after this experience, to conclude, he had his own thoughts. Now Jesus told him, "From now on, your name shall be Michael." And then he said, "Go and spread Christ consciousness." So this again confused Rajiv. Why is this man telling me? Is he asking me to convert to Christianity? So then another thought would come, conflicting thought, saying that he has told you to just spread the message of universal love. He has not asked you to become a Christian. And but then the logical brain says, "Why did he call me Michael? Was that like a call to convert?" Then again he felt that no, maybe it's not. So this kind of churning was happening in his mind. And what he understood or what he felt after all this was that possibly, all religions lead to the same path, and they all have forgiveness, love, and healing as their core principle. So this is the thought he arrived at. Yet, despite arriving at this thought, his mind was still restless. So he decides to go to his mom, visit his mom at New Delhi. He stays there for a few days. Again, these same questions keep cropping up, and he is still in a state of restlessness. Then he decides to visit the Dharmshala. So the same Rajiv who had, during his MBBS days, he had left his medical profession and wanted to become a monk and had run to some Dharmashala. Then now he has left the same profession, and now again he's coming to visit the Dharmshala. So in this camp, what they taught him was to focus on breathing. So initially, the first 2 days were difficult for him. The restlessness continued because he had so much to digest. It was like a man who didn't even believe in all these things is suddenly given two major experiences, and he just doesn't know how to handle it. He doesn't know what to do next. He doesn't know. He has been told that he has to get into consciousness-based healing. He doesn't know how to go about it. The only profession he knew, he doesn't want to continue. So the restlessness was there, and it's a major decision. So we have to really, like, applaud him for it. It's not a small thing for anybody to give up something which was like, supporting them so very well, giving them such good status in the society. Then all of a sudden he decides to abandon it. Now, and he doesn't know. So it is a very natural thing what he did, to visit the Dharmshala. So this Dharmshala is like some distance from Delhi. Like he went to Pathankot. From there, he took a taxi, then went through rigorous mountainous path and reached it. And there in the camp, he was told to focus on the breathing. So one day, was over, second day was over. And only from third day, he started calming down. So the battle was still getting intensified. He still didn't find answers. He didn't know what was the answer to all the questions he had in mind. So his question was that, should I add Christianity? Should I start believing in Jesus Christ? Should I start preaching about Jesus' teachings? So many things happened. So like as he was meditating, he had a breakthrough on seventh day. So on seventh day, what happened was he had a Kundalini awakening. So he felt the energy rise up along the spine and reach his Sahasrara chakra. So that's when, everything suddenly fell into place. Till now, there was so much confusion. And then suddenly everything fell into place, and he realized, whether you're a Hindu, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Sikh, doesn't matter. The body will, if you meditate this, or if you start moving in the spiritual path, the experiences will almost be the same for everyone. So where does religion come here? Religion has no role to play in this. So that's when he realized that all religions are the same. The core principles of the religion are the same. And also, another important thing that happened was he felt his Kundalini energy for the first time. So after 7 days of intense meditation, more than 8 hours in a day, they used to meditate continuously. So when he experienced this Kundalini energy, it was something very blissful, very powerful. And I still remember how I felt when I experienced this. So I think all of us have experienced it. And the first time you experience it, it gives you a very strong confirmation that, yes, you are on the right path. Yes, you are on the spiritual path. It's like the universe saying, yes, this is the truth. And, you don't always need to have scientific experiments to say, like, this is something which exists. So for Rajiv, I could really relate to this chapter very well, because he, for the first time, experienced Kundalini awakening, and he experienced that his selfness was just peeling away. So he was like, he was no longer the cardiac anesthetist. He was the major concern about his maintaining his materialistic positions was not there. He was not so rigid anymore. His thoughts had become flexible. Suddenly his thoughts were changing and taking a totally different direction. So learning to handle all that was difficult. Definitely it was difficult. And we guys also have gone through the same thing. I presume since we are a group of people who have come together to read a book like this, definitely we have that awareness that, the journey or the path is never easy. It is like, it's something like, you are like so scientifically trained and you have a scientific brain. And then suddenly you feel, okay, you are experiencing something spiritual and you don't know, like, you have to relate to it, you have to connect to it. And, it's like the spirituality is giving you evidences to say that, evidences to your logic brain that, no, this is something which exists, this is something which happens, and this is equally scientific. So that's when we all become spiritual scientists. And I think that is what is important, rather than just accepting that, okay, this person had experience through meditation, this person achieved this through meditation. Rather than that, I think we should venture into it and see how it affects us, because each journey is different, each experience is different. So for Rajiv also, it was the same. It was like the universe giving him the confirmation that yes, there are chakras exist, Kundalini energy exists, and now you have experienced it. You might have been a trained cardiac anesthetist, a chief there, but the left brain, though it refuses to accept, there is very strong evidence, very strong proof that this is something which is happening. So he experienced a state of bliss. And when he speaks to his teacher saying that, I have experienced something called a spiritual black hole. So the teacher laughs and says, yes, you have reached something called the cosmic void or the nothingness. And he also says, congrats. He congrats him with the sense of humor. And, of course, like, if you teach somebody meditation and they experience something like a Kundalini awakening, definitely, even for the teacher, he must have felt nice. So after this, Rajiv was in a state of bliss. The sense of peace, everything had come. So he had, of course, like all the desires would have fallen away by this time, because from spiritual, slowly it was over almost 1 year journey by now. And most of his strong materialistic desires had been given away, or like, he no longer wanted them. So he was moving towards something more blissful, more peaceful. And then he realized that whatever is happening is perfect the way it is, and it should be. So after this experience, he decided that all religions are the same, and I'm going to treat everyone the same way. So, and he also realized that there is nothing called, one religion having one particular sect, or or the superiority. He realized that all religions are the same and the core principles are the same. So that is when he felt connected to the universal consciousness, or he realized, like, something called the higher intelligence or the greater, or whatever you call it. So he could so easily connect with it and he could relate to it. And now it became so easy for him to understand his experiences. And then this paved a path towards his healing and towards his new way of living his life, or a new profession also. So I feel that is how we all move towards one earth which has no borders, and one religion which would just be humanity. And hopefully there will be a day where we would all greet each other as just fellow earthlings, not as people from Karnataka or people from Maharashtra or from whatever. I think we need to have that thing where there are no borders and we relate to each other as just fellow earthlings. Thank you.
So shared death experience.
Yes, I have one experience to share. See, this was some 10 years ago, and we were treating a patient who had something called the Fournier's gangrene. It is a very, very bad infection of, the thigh and the genital region. So this patient, who was like 56 or 58-year-old, so he was I was just a general surgery resident back then, must be some 10 or 11 years behind. So that's when this man, he was a Christian, and his time was nearing. We were doing the maximum possible things we could, but somehow, he was not responding to medications. We had started him on all inotropic supports. He was not responding well. And then sister came and told me, the staff nurse who was taking care of the patient, she said, this man, he was a Christian. So she said, this man is seeing Jesus, I believe. And she laughed at it. I mean, it was a funny thing. But then I had read about NDEs, so I was aware of what was it. So I went to him, I consoled him, and I said, everything will be fine. Keep praying to Jesus Christ. And then after some 1 hour or something, he passed away. So after that, that is the first time when, and the only time possibly where somebody has told me about an NDE. So that was a nice experience.
Death-like experience.
Yes.
Or one premonition of death.
Yes. I think it was like that.
तो अगर अधिक डॉक्टर अगर सेंसिटिव होते हैं इस टॉपिक के प्रति, तो डेथ कैन बी ग्रेसफुल.
Correct. It can be peaceful. People don't have to have so much fear, and I think we can prepare them in a better way. We can talk to them, and we can tell them, like, everything will be okay, and think about whatever. We don't know, like, miracles do happen. Like, sometimes we have done CPR for 30 minutes continuously. We have revived a patient. Actually, after 4 minutes of CPR, most patients die, but there are instances where 15 to 20 minutes of CPR and somehow we have revived the patient. So we don't know what would have happened during that time. So we have to be open to all possibilities. That's what I feel.
हमारे साथ दिल्ली से सीनियर गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट डॉक्टर प्रतिभा नंदा जुड़ी हुई हैं. दिल्ली में गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल है, दीनदयाल उपाध्याय हॉस्पिटल, वहां पर वो पोस्टेड हैं. तो आज डॉक्टर प्रतिभा भी आई हैं. वेलकम मैम.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, Dr. Chandana says she has experienced Kundalini awakening.
I would say Kundalini energy, ma'am. Like, most often you can feel the chakras when you're meditating. You can feel the energy rising along the spine. You will notice that it goes till the Sahasrara. Then again, you can feel that movement of along the spinal column. Definitely, I have sensed it many times.
And they say once the Kundalini is awakened, you need a guru to, harness that energy, because that energy can just get you confused, or it can be harmful also.
Yes, ma'am. Initially, I had a guru. We were practicing meditation under him for some time. But then he passed away, and I'm continuing with my meditations. There's nothing so fearful about it. It will, when I started, it's like, that was some 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. So it has been a nice process. It's like, I didn't have to, so strongly pursue it, but it's something which I very normally sense. I can sense the chakras. So even the way they are rotating, and I don't know, maybe I am a sensitive person and I'm sensing, but another person may not sense it, but all these things might be happening. So it need not be that, you need a guru. It is not mandatory. I wouldn't say it's mandatory, but it's nice to have a guru, definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am.
Ma'am, Wheels of Life, there is one book, there is one video, Wheels of Life. नोडिया जूडिथ एक चक्रा रिसर्चर है, उन्होंने लिखी है और बनाई है.
ओके.
तो व्हील ऑफ लाइफ पढ़ना और देखना यूजफुल रहेगा.
ऑलराइट, ठीक है. Thank you, Ranjan.
And also, I would like to share this info. Kundalini is actually nothing to be feared. They say that, if it suddenly rises, people will become mad, people will, nothing like that. As you keep gradually meditating, you will start becoming aware of your chakras. You will start becoming aware of your Kundalini energy, the way it is moving, the way it is activating each chakra and going higher up. You will definitely sense all that. And it's not like I don't sit for meditation thinking I'm going to sense my Kundalini. It automatically happens. And some days continuously for some 2-3 weeks, I may not sense it also. So they say that Kundalini is actually the primitive streak. Like when the embryo is formed, we have something called the primitive streak. So the Kundalini is the remnant of that primitive streak, and these cells are there in the sacrum, ma'am, as you are aware. And it is just few cells, and also it is there in the bone marrow. That's what I've heard and read about. And Kundalini energy is actually, in the medical terms, medical parlance, if we have to relate to, there is a book called, I have it here, Kundalini Tantra, by Bihar School of Yoga teacher, Swami Satyananda Saraswati. This is an amazing book. He is a medico who got into this Bihar School of Yoga and started teaching yoga. So what he says in this book is, it is actually the activation of the neurons. The neurons get activated along the corpus callosum. So as you know, corpus callosum is the one which bridges the right brain and the left brain. So these neurons, from one end of the brain to the whole total, like, you know, like a C-shaped thing. And this is what is felt as Kundalini rising. That's what he says. So when somebody, like, you know, scientifically tells you what it is, it becomes more interesting. And I think we lose that fear about it.
Yes, yes. Okay, I think I should read these books. Yeah,
ma'am, you should. You really should. It's a fantastic book. I mean, he's a medico himself. He has done his MBBS and he's gone, and so I think he has done some research also. So it's a nice book.
Okay. So how long did you take to experience it? I mean, how long you were doing meditation to experience?
I started my meditation some 14-15 years back, ma'am. So initially I didn't feel anything. Initially I was just sitting in meditation, but over a period of time, maybe like after 1 year later or something, that's when I didn't sense it as Kundalini energy. I just felt as if like there was some kind of a heat energy in the sacral chakra region at the back. So I didn't understand. Initially I was very new to this, and only later when I started reading books, I understood what was happening.
Okay. And how long were you sitting at one time?
Half an hour to 40 minutes.
Okay.
So
and you had no idea about chakras at that time?
No, I didn't have. Initially, I had no idea about it. Then I started reading these books because I was going to Taponagar in Bangalore under Guruji Krishnananda. So there I started like getting access to all these books on chakras, on Kundalini energy. And then I understood what was happening. And I had even told my Guruji that this is what I'm feeling. And he said, this is Kundalini energy, and it's a very normal thing, normal phenomena. And he told me to continue with meditations.
Okay, good. You experienced it. Yeah, very nice.
Ma'am, I think it's just sensitivity levels, I feel, because anybody who sits for meditation, I think the Kundalini energy will get activated. I think it's just that some people are sensitive enough to experience it. That's what I feel. There's nothing great about it. But neither is it something which, you know, if somebody doesn't experience, doesn't mean that their Kundalini energy is not rising up.
So you were only concentrating on breathing when you were meditating?
Yes. It was only breath work.
Only breath work.
Only breath work. Okay. We were given bija mantras, and for some time I practiced that, but mainly it was the breath work. And then slowly I moved towards visualizations, and then another book which was like, so there is a person called Soluntra King, and her books also are very nice. So they are sort of a visualization based meditations, and they are also amazing books to read. So they are a little different. They don't concentrate on the breath work. They're more like visualizations.
But you had not visualized in the beginning. You could just
feel it. I could sense it, and then later when I dug up deeper, I was like, I was curious, what is this I'm experiencing? What is this I'm knowing? And then when you start going slowly into it, you realize, okay, it's a very normal phenomenon. It's possibly a scientific phenomena. That's exactly how my left brain could accept it and understand it.
Definitely. This is a very subtle science. It is a higher
Yes,
science,
yes,
basically.
it is.
Mm. Yeah.
And possibly if some neurologist or neurosurgeon gets interested in it, and I would really like to, actually conduct experiments or find out more about it.
Yeah.
Though there are many in the Western literature, I
Mm.
think from Indian perspectives, and it would be an interesting topic to research.
Mm. Mm. Yes, definitely. Definitely. Thank you so much. Nice talking to
Thank
you.
you. Nice talking to you also, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Near-death experience, near-death experience, and an understanding of consciousness, Chetna. Dr. Rajiv Bharti is a consciousness healer. Dr. Ranjan is a consciousness healer. तो इन्हीं को नियर डेथ एक्सपीरियंस की जो स्टोरी हमने सुनी 1 वीक और जो बातों को हमने सुना समझा उससे रिलेटेड अगर किसी को कुछ पूछना हो कुछ कहना हो तो feel free to ask, or if you have any some death near death experience, some death like experience, आप वह भी शेयर कर सकते हैं। जो इस बुक से सबसे बड़ी बात जो मुझे सीखने को मिली है कि मृत्यु का डर समाप्त हो जाएगा अगर हम समझ लेते हैं तो लाइफ डजंट एंड एट द टाइम ऑफ डेथ। तो जो बहुत लोग प्लानिंग करते हैं प्लानिंग ऑफ रिटायरमेंट के बाद के लिए इन्वेस्टमेंट और प्लानिंग क्या करना है, स्टोरी इज नॉट एंडिंग एट द टाइम ऑफ डेथ। आर यू प्लानिंग योर लाइफ आफ्टर द डेथ? हम तो वो तो प्लान कर ही नहीं रहे। और ऐसा भी सुना होगा नॉट प्लानिंग इज प्लानिंग टू फेल। तो हम अपनी लाइफ को किस डायरेक्शन में ले जा रहे हैं ये थोड़ा हमें समझना होगा। कॉन्शियसनेस डजंट एंड एट द टाइम ऑफ डेथ, वी आर कॉन्शियसनेस। और जो नियर डेथ मैनिफेस्टो में यह बात एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग बात लिखती है, कैसे इसे मेडिकल साइंस एक्सेप्ट करेंगे, टाइम लगे। कॉन्शियसनेस कैन एग्जिस्ट आउटसाइड द बॉडी। रात में हम जो ड्रीम एक्सपीरियंस लेते हैं या मेडिटेशन में जो आउट ऑफ बॉडी एक्सपीरियंस हो सकते हैं होते हैं, उन फेनोमेनास को कैसे एक्सप्लेन किया जाए, अभी कॉन्शियसनेस पर डिस्कशन बहुत कम जगह पे हो रहा है। हमें अपने फोकस को चेतना पे ले जाने की जरूरत है। डेथ के प्रति हम फियरलेस हो जाएं। डेथ इज वन फेज, वन ट्रांजिशन फेज। अलग अलग लाइफ में ट्रांजिशन होते हैं, जैसे मौसम बदलता है, ये ट्रांजिशन है। फिजिकल बॉडी छूटी और नॉन फिजिकल बॉडीज में अब आप रहेंगे, लेकिन लाइफ इज गोइंग ऑन। सो हाउ यू कैन प्लान योर लाइफ इन बेटर वे। तो इस पर थोड़ा चिंतन कीजिएगा। अगर हम लाइफ में आंसर इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, राइट क्वेश्चंस इंपॉर्टेंट। अगर हमने ये सही ढंग से अगर सोचना सीख लिया कि क्या करना है, अगर सो कॉल्ड मरने के बाद भी हम जीते ही रहते हैं तो क्या करनी है, जिंदगी को कैसे जीना है, तो हम रास्ता ढूंढने लग जाएंगे और आगे बढ़ने लग जाएंगे। We are eternal beings. Eternity is one quality of consciousness. There are many aspects of consciousness. एक तो इटर्निटी की बात है, जो इसमें है ना, अंडरस्टैंड हु वी आर। इसमें एक चैप्टर का हेडिंग भी दिया, और लास्ट सेंटेंस, इस बुक का जो लास्ट सेंटेंस है, मतलब कंक्लूजन के लास्ट में, अंडरस्टैंड हु वी आर। ये अध्यात्म का पर्पस, स्पिरिचुअलिटी, मेडिटेशन, वो वही है, जानना। सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन बोलते हैं, इनलाइटनमेंट। हम अपने आप को जाने हम हैं कौन। जनरली आप कोई पूछता है कौन, तो हम नाम बोल देते हैं। नाम तो संबोधन के लिए है, नाम तो हम नहीं है। वी आर मच मोर देन नेम। व्हाट वी आर, हु वी आर। ये हमें ढूंढना चाहिए। कॉन्शियसनेस पर जाएंगे तो आंसर मिलने लग जाएगा, समझ में आने लग जाएगा। मेडिटेशन में बहुत लोग मेडिटेशन के गहरे लेवल पर जाते हैं, लेकिन अगर वो स्वाध्याय नहीं है, वो ओरिएंटेशन नहीं है, तो अपने एक्सपीरियंस को कंप्रिहेंड नहीं कर पाते। आप किसी शहर से, किसी नए शहर से घूमकर आ जाएं, आपके पास कोई गाइड नहीं है, कोई मैप नहीं है, आप चीजों को देख लेंगे लेकिन उनका आपको नाम नहीं पता, उनके बारे में आप कुछ बता नहीं सकते। एक्सपीरियंस होने के साथ साथ उसकी थ्योरी को जानना, स्वाध्याय बुक पढ़ना इसलिए हेल्प करता है। हमें राजीव पार्थी को पढ़ना चाहिए, हमें डॉक्टर इबन अलेक्जेंडर को पढ़ना चाहिए। स्पिरिचुअल डॉक्टर्स पे डॉक्टर इबन अलेक्जेंडर आए थे, उनकी टॉक को सुन सकते हैं। प्रूफ ऑफ हेवन उनकी जबरदस्त बुक है। बहुत सारे हैं हमारे पास, है डॉक्टर ब्रायन वाइस है, माइकल न्यूटन है। इसके बाद जो हम बुक करने वाले हैं वो है 50 स्पिरिचुअल क्लासिक। तो इस 50 स्पिरिचुअल क्लासिक में माइकल न्यूटन का टॉपिक भी है। माइकल न्यूटन इज लाइक ब्रायन वाइस, लेकिन माइकल न्यूटन की खासियत है कि उन्होंने इन बिटवीन लाइफ या लाइफ बिटवीन लाइफ पे काम किया है। ब्रायन वाइस पूर्व जन्मों के पिछले लाइफ टाइम में किस ह्यूमन बॉडी में थे उसकी बातें बताते हैं, मतलब उसकी बातों पे उनका ज्यादा वर्क है। ऐसे डेथ को भी देखा जाता है, डेथ के समय किस तरह से डेथ हुई और डेथ के बाद क्या हुआ, जो ट्रांजिशन है लाइफ में, ट्रांजिशन टनल के थ्रू जो हमने इसमें सुना है, और नियर डेथ एक्सपीरियंस में ये पैटर्न सभी जगह है। तो जब हम ट्रांजिट कर गए हैं लाइफ रिलम में, जब रेस्ट कर रहे हैं, लाइफ रिव्यू हो गया या हो रहा है, तो उस लाइफ रिव्यू का जो लाइफ रिव्यू सबसे मेन है नियर डेथ एक्सपीरियंस में। हम और ऐसे भी कहते हैं ना, जिंदगी में चिंतन करना चाहिए। हम चिंता करते हैं, चिंतन नहीं करते। तो चिंतन करने की जरूरत है। जो जिंदगी हमने जी है उसमें हमने क्या क्या सीखा, क्या क्या किया, कहां पर बेहतर करने का स्कोप था, कहां पर मेरे पास कैपेसिटी या कैपेबिलिटी थी लेकिन आई डिडंट। अगर बात समझ में रियलाइज हो रही है तो हमें करना देना सीखना है। और उसके बाद वो बात इसमें आती है सर्विस, सेल्फलेस सर्विस। बहुत खूबसूरत है जो लास्ट में हमने देखा है। सर्विस के साथ साथ एटीट्यूड ऑफ ग्रेटिट्यूड। ऐसा नहीं है कि आप सर्विस करें तो उसके बाद तो आपके पास ये भाव होना चाहिए कि मैंने तो सर्विस की है। अरे सर्विस करने का आपको मौका मिल रहा है, आपके सर्विस को जो स्वीकार कर रहा है वो ग्रेटिट्यूड भी होना चाहिए। सर्विस इज नॉट जस्ट सर्विस, सर्विस विद सेंस ऑफ ग्रेटिट्यूड। तो हमारे देश में कहते हैं नर सेवा ही नारायण सेवा, मानव सेवा ही माधव सेवा, वर्क ऑफर टू गॉड। तो ना सिर्फ गरीब लोग जो नॉलेज से गरीब हैं, क्या हम उनकी सेवा नहीं कर सकते? जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग में पुअर हैं, क्या आप उनको हेल्प नहीं कर सकते? तो गरीब सिर्फ वही नहीं है जो जिनको खाने को नहीं मिल रहा है, जिनको पहनने को नहीं मिल रहा है। गरीब तो नॉलेज से भी है बहुत, उनको तो हम हेल्प कर सकते हैं प्यार से, थोड़ा थोड़ा। तो मैं बहुत बार बोलता रहता हूँ कि आप बुक खरीदो और बुक गिफ्ट करो। लुई हे के टाइम पे मैंने कहा, बहुत लोगों ने किया। ऑटोबायोग्राफी ऑफ योगी पे बोला, उसमें भी बहुत लोगों ने किया, बाद में बताए। तो टाइम टू वेकअप भी बुक, आप किसी डॉक्टर को जानते हैं तो ये बुक गिफ्ट कीजिए उनको। हो सकता है ये उनकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग को, उनकी लाइफ की अंडरस्टैंडिंग को, कॉन्शियसनेस की अंडरस्टैंडिंग को चेंज करें। तो हम बुक गिफ्ट करने का ट्रेंड भी एक लाइफ में रखें। कॉन्शियसनेस को समझने के लिए बुक कॉन्शियसनेस को समझने के लिए आपको खुद को समझना पड़ेगा, है ना? खुद को जानेंगे तो हम जान पाएंगे। कॉन्शियसनेस के रिगार्डिंग इसमें बात अच्छी आई है, जो नियर डेथ मैनिफेस्टो है उसका 6th लाइन, देयर आर डिफरेंट लेवल्स ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस। जो कंक्लूजन है, 7 बेसिक ट्रूथ। जिनके पास बुक है वो देख रहे होंगे, या मैं PDF दिखाता हूँ। तो ये जो 7 ट्रुथ हैं, इस 7 ट्रुथ में जो 6th पॉइंट है, दे आर डिफरेंट लेवल्स ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस। यह समझना भी एक इंटरेस्टिंग पहलू है। तो ये लेवल ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस हम कई ढंग से देख सकते हैं। एक ढंग तो ब्रेन साइंस वाला है, बीटा, अल्फा, थीटा, डेल्टा, गामा। जो धर्मशाला में कुंडलिनी का एक्सपीरियंस होता है डॉक्टर राजीव पार्थी को, और उसके साथ साथ उनको ब्लिस का अनुभव होता है, कॉस्मिक वाइड, नथिंगनेस, जीरोनेस। तो ये जो जीरो है, ये क्या है? ये डेल्टा स्टेट। अब डेल्टा में भी 0 to 4 हर्ट्ज है, तो जो 0 हर्ट्ज या उसके आसपास का अनुभव होगा वो वाइड का होगा, कॉस्मिक वाइड। तो डिफरेंट लेवल्स ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस को हम समझ सकते हैं, और जब समझ रहे हैं उसको हम रिप्लिकेट कर सकते हैं। माइंड टू मैटर हमने पढ़ा, ब्लिस ब्रेन पढ़ा, उसमें ये सब बातें आई थी। तो चीजें तो हमारे आसपास हैं, हम सुन रहे हैं, हमें उसको अपने जीवन में उतारना है। जो हम सुन रहे हैं उसको करके देखना है। उसमें हमें सांसों पर ध्यान करते हुए हम शून्य हो जाते हैं। धर्मशाला जाकर भी वो यही ध्यान करते हैं डॉक्टर राजीव, बस वहां पे उनको वो विपासना कहा जाता है। विपासना जो है वो मेनली ब्रेथ ऑब्जर्वेशन ही है। ब्रेथ ऑब्जर्वेशन से हम शून्य जल्दी हो जाते हैं। शून्य होते हैं, कभी न कभी चक्रा भी आएगा, चक्रा आए उसी कोई जल्दबाजी नहीं है। शून्य होना, ठहरना। सक्सेस इज नॉट जस्ट एक्वायरिंग समथिंग, सक्सेस इज सस्टेनिंग इट। तो डेल्टा में हम पहुंच जाएं, सिर्फ वही बात नहीं है कॉस्मिक वाइड में, जीरोनेस में, ब्लिस में, वो उसमें हम टिके भी। तो वो टिकना तभी होगा जब अल्फा ठीक ठाक होगा। अगर हम अल्फा में ठीक से रहते हैं तो डेल्टा में हम स्थिर रहेंगे। और अल्फा और डेल्टा के बीच में थीटा है। थीटा जब चक्रा का अनुभव हो रहा है, कुंडलिनी का अनुभव हो रहा है, वो थीटा है। थीटा में ही सारे मेडिटेशन एक्सपीरियंस मींस थीटा। और जब वो ब्लिस में चले जाते हैं, उन्होंने लिखा, आई पास थ्रू फील्ड ऑफ व्हाइट लाइट दैट लेफ्ट मी फीलिंग ए डीप लव फॉर ऑल पीपल आई न्यू। हार्ट कोहेरेंस जब हम करते हैं तो हम क्या करते हैं? हम लव रेडिएट करते हैं। दैट रेडिएटिंग लव इज ट्राइंग टू रिप्लिकेट दैट स्टेट। और वो इनको हुआ, और वही जो है वो गामा स्टेट है। डेल्टा में जब हम स्थिर हो गए हो तो गामा आता है। दूध को मथने के बाद घी निकलता है। गामा इज दैट घी, लेकिन उसके लिए डेल्टा, सफिशिएंट डेल्टा चाहिए। टेक्निक चूंकि साइंटिस्ट ढूंढ लेते हैं, कंपैशन पे आप फोकस करें, गामा शुरू हो जाएगा। लेकिन फिर अगर डॉसन चर्च को जब पढ़ा, याद होगा, वो अपनी इनएबिलिटी को बता रहे हैं कि ज्यादा देर उसमें रह नहीं सकते लोग। वो हैंडल करना, उस स्टेट को हैंडल करना इजी नहीं होता, नहीं होगा। आप बांटने जाओगे, अगर मैं हिंदी मुहावरे से बताता हूं कि एक मुहावरा है, नंगा नहाएगा क्या और निचोड़ेगा क्या। तो अगर हम डेल्टा में खुद नहीं गए हैं तो हम लव क्या दे सकते हैं? अगर हमें डिविनिटी का एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है, अगर हमारी लव की अंडरस्टैंडिंग सिर्फ फिजिकल से है, तो हम देना खत्म हो जाएगा। वो फिर कब उसमें जेलसी आ जाएगा, कब अटैचमेंट आ जाएगा, पता नहीं चलता। लव तभी प्रॉपर हो सकता है जब उसमें डिविनिटी हो, यानी कि डेल्टा स्टेट हो, जीरो स्टेट हो, कॉस्मिक ब्लिस के साथ हो। ये स्टेट ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस एक ब्रेन साइंस वाला है। एक स्टेट ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस जो है वो है सोल जर्नी से रिलेटेड। लेवल ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस को 4 अलग अलग तरीके से मैं आज आपको थोड़ा सा बता देता हूं। वैसे हर एक अपने आप में बहुत बड़ा गहरा टॉपिक है। सोल जर्नी, जो पुराने सुनने वाले हैं वो तो थोड़ा उनको याद थोड़ा आ जाएगा। जो धरती पर हम बार बार जन्म लेते हैं, बार बार आगे बढ़ते हैं, ये वैसे लीनियर स्केल ऑफ लीनियर टाइमलाइन हुआ इवोल्यूशन का। हम सिर्फ लीनियर नहीं है, कॉन्शियसनेस का एक एस्पेक्ट है मल्टी डायमेंशनल, और जब उसकी फीलिंग होने लग जाए तो बातें लीनियर में आगे नहीं बढ़ती। आप सिंपल सपने देखिए, सपनों में क्या सब कुछ हिसाब किताब से होता है? सपनों में हम बहुत बार ऐसी चीजें देख लेते हैं जो फिजिकली हमको लगता है ये क्या देख लिया, ये क्या वियर्ड चीज है, लेकिन यूनिवर्स में वियर्ड कुछ नहीं है। बस हमारे लॉजिकल माइंड के लिए वो वियर्ड है, क्योंकि हमारा लॉजिकल माइंड बस सिस्टमेटिक एक डॉट को दूसरे डॉट से कनेक्ट करता है, दूसरे डॉट को तीसरे डॉट से कनेक्ट करता है। ए टू बी है, बी टू सी है, सी टू डी है, डी टू ई है। मल्टी डायमेंशनल में ऐसा नहीं है। मल्टी डायमेंशनल में ए टू डी है, ए टू एफ है, ये से कहीं भी जा सकते हैं। और एक्यूपंक्चर में भी मैं वही करता हूँ, कहीं से भी कहीं भी ऊर्जा भेजी जा सकती है। हाँ, मोस्टली एक जो प्री डिफाइंड पैटर्न है उसमें थोड़ा इजी वे में जाता है, लेकिन जरूरत पड़ने पर क्वांटम जंप, क्वांटम फिजिक्स में इसको बोलते हैं क्वांटम जंप। इलेक्ट्रॉन कैन गो एट एनी, क्वांटम कैन गो एनी प्लेस, इट डजंट मूव इन लीनियर फैशन। मल्टी डायमेंशनल कॉन्शियसनेस को समझने जाएंगे तो ये सब बातें आएंगी। क्वांटम फिजिक्स आएगा, क्वांटम फिजिक्स की बुक को पढ़ें इस क्वांटम कॉन्शियसनेस को समझने के लिए। डॉक्टर अमित गोस्वामी को पढ़ें, फ्रेड एलन वोल्फ को पढ़ें, डॉक्टर क्वांटम नाम से यूट्यूब पे उनके कई सारे वीडियो हैं क्वांटम फिजिक्स के लिए। तो लीनियर टाइमलाइन ऑफ इवोल्यूशन में सोल जर्नी को डिस्क्राइब किया जाता है बेबी सोल, यंग सोल, मैच्योर सोल, ओल्ड सोल, ट्रांसेंडेंटल सोल एंड इन्फिनिट सोल। तो जब आप किसी रूल के लिए स्ट्रिक्ट होते हैं, अभी डॉक्टर से पूछो प्रोग्राम था मेरा, उसमें आज आई साइट पे मैंने बोला अपने आई साइट्स को कैसे बढ़ाएं। पीएमसी हिंदी टीवी पर सोमवार और शुक्रवार को 5 to 6 मेरा डॉक्टर से पूछो प्रोग्राम आता है, अलग अलग हेल्थ टॉपिक पर मैं वहां बोलता हूँ। आई साइट का एक आई साइट पूरा होने का एक रीजन है कि हमारे भीतर जजमेंट का होना, एक्सेप्टेंस का कम होना। तो ये बेबी सोल जो एक पहला स्टेज है, जैसे सबसे पहला इन्फेंट है, इसको मैं वो स्पिरिचुअल साइंस के डिस्कशन में उतना नहीं आता, ट्राइबल लोग उसमें आ जाते हैं। बेबी सोल जो हमारी लाइफ में जो इनकाउंटर होता है वो बेबी सोल वाले का भी हो सकता है। जब स्ट्रिक्टनेस रिजिडिटी होती नहीं, ये काम ऐसे ही होना चाहिए, जिद्दीपन, बेबी सोल में जिद्दीपन सबसे ज्यादा होता है, अड़ियलपन। और ना सिर्फ वो खुद कराते हैं, दूसरों को भी करने को बोलते हैं, तुमको भी ऐसे ही करना है, नहीं करोगे तो तुमको हम अपने उससे निकाल देंगे, अपने कास्ट से निकाल देंगे, वो फतवा जारी कर देते हैं। वो एक एग्जाम्पल है। वैसा किसी भी फैमिली में हो सकता है कि नहीं तुमको ऐसे ही करना चाहिए। तो किसी पेरेंट्स की तरफ से हो सकता है, किसी बच्चे की तरफ से हो सकता है, कहीं भी हो सकता है। स्ट्रिक्टनेस वो बेबी सोल है। यंग सोल में स्वाभिमान आ जाता है, तो स्वाभिमान में भी थोड़ा बैलेंस है तो अच्छा लगता है। अगर वो ईगो बन जाता है, ईगोइस्टिक, राजी पार्टी भी बहुत ईगोइस्टिक था, तो यंग सोल से उसने क्वांटम जंप लिया ओल्ड सोल में। मैच्योर सोल, क्वांटम जंप नियर डेथ एक्सपीरियंस का ये ब्यूटी है कि इसमें क्वांटम जंप होता है इवोल्यूशन का, कॉन्शियसनेस के इवोल्यूशन का। नहीं तो लीनियर फैशन में तो हम स्टेप बाय स्टेप जनरली बढ़ते हैं। वैसे हम बातों को समझें तो हम कहीं से भी अपने आप को हम ट्रांसेंडेंटल सोल के लेवल तक पहुंचा सकते हैं। ओल्ड सोल, समय को देखते हुए मैं शॉर्टकट करता हूं। यंग सोल स्वाभिमान, ईगो। ओल्ड सोल, मैच्योर सोल, अपनी हैप्पीनेस में मस्त रहने वाला, जो उसे काम पसंद है बस उसमें डूबा रहेगा, दुनिया से विशेष मतलब नहीं, लेकिन झगड़ा भी नहीं करेगा, अपने आप से उन चीजों को इग्नोर करना पसंद करेगा झगड़ा करने के बजाय। बेबी सोल और यंग सोल झगड़ा करने में माहिर होते हैं, और यंग सोल आग लगाता है और बेबी सोल उसको चारों तरफ फैलाते हैं। जो लीडर होता है वो झगड़ा शुरू कर देता है और उसके बाद उसके जो फॉलोअर होते हैं बेबी सोल्स वो उसको कंटिन्यू रखते हैं। मैच्योर सोल और ओल्ड सोल ये लोग झगड़ा करने में इंटरेस्ट नहीं रखते। वो बोलते हैं ठीक है तुम ही मेरा ले जाओ। पीसफुल वॉरियर मूवी देखिएगा, 50 स्पिरिचुअल क्लासिक में आने वाला है। इसमें 35 बुक्स आएंगी। ये 50 बुक्स की समरी है। इसमें से 35 चैप्टर्स अच्छे हैं, उन पे हम डिस्कशन शुरू करेंगे। तो कल इसका मैं इंट्रो करूंगा। जिनको इसमें से कोई चैप्टर पढ़ना है वो संपर्क कीजिए और कोई चैप्टर लेकर पढ़िए। तो पीसफुल वॉरियर एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग बुक है, मूवी भी है। उसमें डॉन मिलमैन का गुरु लुटेरे उसको घेर लेते, तो वो तो लुटेरे आए थे पैसे लेने के लिए, वो घड़ी कोट सब कुछ दे देता है कि ले जाओ। और बाद में बोलता है कि जिसको हम प्यार नहीं कर सकते, वास्तव में प्यार करने की जरूरत तो सबसे ज्यादा उनको है। ये हम सुनते तो हैं लेकिन इसको प्रैक्टिस करना, डॉन मिलमैन के गुरु उसको सिखाता है प्रैक्टिस करना। तो पीसफुल वॉरियर जो है वो एक क्लासिक बुक बनी हुई है। बुक से बुक के रूप में आना, बुक का फिर मूवी बन जाना। पीसफुल वॉरियर मूवी यूट्यूब पे भी अवेलेबल है, देखिएगा। पीसफुल वॉरियर और सेलेस्टाइन प्रोफेसी दो मूवी स्पिरिचुअलिटी में पॉपुलर है और दोनों इसमें कवर हो रहा है। मूवी के माध्यम से भी हम बहुत कुछ आराम से देख सकते हैं। वैसे सिर्फ मूवी देखकर नहीं रुकना है, बुक भी पढ़ना है। मैच्योर सोल, ओल्ड सोल, वो देने में विश्वास रखते हैं, वो झगड़ा फसाद में नहीं पड़ते। मैच्योर सोल हैप्पीनेस के लिए कंसर्न होता है, ओल्ड सोल स्पिरिचुअलिटी के लिए, इनलाइटनमेंट के लिए कंसर्न होता है, ब्लिस के लिए कंसर्न होता है, आनंद कहां मिलेगा। जो मैच्योर सोल है वो भी हैप्पी होना चाहता है, लेकिन वो हैप्पी होने के लिए किसी एक्सटर्नल क्राफ्ट में जाता है। म्यूजिक है, साइंस है, कुछ भी, पोयम है, ट्रैवलिंग है। कुछ लोग को घूमना ही पसंद लगता है, घूमते ही रहते। तो दे आर मैच्योर सोल, दे आर सर्चिंग, बट सर्चिंग आउटसाइड। ओल्ड सोल सर्च इनसाइड। तो जब भीतर की यात्रा शुरू हुई तो वो ओल्ड सोल की अवस्था है। उस ओल्ड सोल में भी हम जो पहले के बेबी सोल, यंग सोल है, उसका इम्पैक्ट आते रहता है कि नहीं यही तरीका होना चाहिए, यही गुरु अच्छे हैं। वो बेबी सोल और यंग सोल का लक्षण आ जाता है, अरे मेरे गुरु सबसे महान है, आप मेरे गुरु का प्रोग्राम कराइए। तो वो जब यहां पर आती है बात लव टू ऑल, डॉक्टर राजीव ने सीखा सबको प्रेम करना, सबको प्रेम देना। तो हम प्रेम देना सीखें। ओल्ड सोल और खासकर, और जब हम जान चुके हों कॉस्मिक ब्लिस को, कुंडलिनी को, अपने आप को, अपनी मल्टी डायमेंशनल इटर्नल नेचर को, इन्फिनिट नेचर को। कॉन्शियसनेस का एक एस्पेक्ट है इन्फिनिटी। वी आर नॉट लिमिटेड बाय टाइम एंड स्पेस। जो भी टाइम का नोशन है, जो स्पेस का नोशन है, ये एक फिजिकल नोशन है, फिजिकल वर्ल्ड की दुनिया में, फिजिकल वर्ल्ड में एग्जिस्ट करता है। वास्तव में हम टाइम से और स्पेस से लिमिटेड नहीं है। इन्फिनिटी, वी आर इनफाइनाइट। तो जो डायमेंशन का कंसेप्ट आता है, वी आर इन थर्ड डायमेंशन, फोर्थ डायमेंशन, फिफ्थ डायमेंशन, आप फिजिकल लेवल तक सोच रहे हैं तो ये है। अगर आपने जाना अपने आप को लाइट के लेवल पे, तो यू आर इन ऑल डायमेंशन ऑल द टाइम। हाँ, आप जब जहां रेस्ट करना चाहें, जिस पॉइंट ऑफ रेफरेंस से बात करना चाहें, वहां से आप ऑपरेट कर सकते हैं। म्यूजिक वाले थोड़े से इसको समझ पाएंगे कि सारे गामा का उसमें एक होता है, लेकिन वो आप शिफ्ट भी कर सकते हैं। कोई जो ही नहीं कि एक ही जगह से होगा, कहीं से भी आप ऑपरेट कर सकते हैं। तो म्यूजिक वाले समझ पाएंगे। तो डायमेंशन का भी वैसा ही कंसेप्ट, आप कहीं से भी ऑपरेट कर सकते हैं, जो आपको पसंद है वहां से ऑपरेट कीजिए। जहां पे आपको लगता है कि हम यहाँ इस डायमेंशन को, इस रिलम को मुझे एक्सपीरियंस करना है, या इस रिलम पे सर्विस करना है, उस डायमेंशन पे ऑपरेट करते हैं। बट वी आर ऑल द टाइम इन ऑल द डायमेंशन, वी आर मल्टी डायमेंशनल बीइंग। जब जागेंगे तो पहचानेंगे, और ये जाग जाते हैं तो ट्रांसेंडेंटल सोल के लेवल आ जाती है। ट्रांसेंड, हमने सभी लिमिटेशन को ट्रांसेंड कर लिया, ओल्ड सोल की बात की बात। तो ट्रांसेंडेंटल सोल के लेवल पे सिर्फ सर्विस इज द वे ऑफ लाइफ। अभी राजीव पार्टी ने सर्विस करने का सीख लिया, वो सर्विस कर रहे हैं, करना उन्होंने शुरू कर दिया, लेकिन अभी भी ओल्ड सोल का स्टेज अभी थोड़ा थोड़ा चल रहा है। जब पूरी तरह से वो रिफाइन हो जाता है, सर्विस इज द वे ऑफ लाइफ, तो वो ट्रांसेंडेंटल सोल की बात है। फिर फुल टाइम टीचर ही होते हैं, फुल टाइम सिर्फ देना ही होता है, देवता हम बन जाते हैं। देवता जो होता है वो देता है, जितना हम देते हैं उतना हमारे भीतर देवत्व आ जाता है, देवता के गुण आ जाते हैं। जितना हम गामा कॉन्शियसनेस में रहते हैं, गामा स्टेट में रहते हैं, उतना हम देना जान जाते हैं। तो मेडिटेशन में जितना आप ध्यान करते करते आप गामा में चले जाइएगा, आपको ऐसा आएगा कि बस बांट दे, लुटा दे। लेकिन अगर फिर आप वापस बीटा में आ गए, फिर आपको लगा अरे मेरे भविष्य का क्या होगा, तो फिर वो कन्फ्लिक्ट चलता है। वो कन्फ्लिक्ट नहीं चलना चाहिए। क्लैरिटी, जो अपने मेडिटेशन एक्सपीरियंस है उसको हम लिखें, लिखने से हमें ज्यादा स्पष्ट पाता है और आगे आगे हम बढ़ते जाएं। जो पीक एक्सपीरियंस है हमारे अपने मेडिटेशन के, हम चाहे अभी ओल्ड सोल में भी प्रिमिटिव लेवल पे हो, लेकिन हमारा अभी का जो पीक है मेडिटेशन में या स्पिरिचुअलिटी का अंडरस्टैंडिंग का, उससे लाइफ को ऑपरेट करने की कोशिश करें। अगर आपका जो अभी का पीक है, अगर वो आपका बेसलाइन हो जाता है, तो आप और उससे आगे हायर लेवल ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस को एक्सपीरियंस करेंगे। तो लाइफ में कभी भी कोई भी डिसीजन लेना हो, आंखें बंद करके मेडिटेटिव स्टेट से डिसीजन लें। जो आपके मेडिटेशन का सबसे बेस्ट एक्सपीरियंस है, उस एक्सपीरियंस को याद करते हुए, अपनी डिविनिटी से जुड़ते हुए, उसके बाद डिसीजन लें। आपका हर एक डिसीजन बिल्कुल परफेक्ट होगा, डिवाइन कॉन्शियसनेस के साथ एट्यून होके होगा, तो परफेक्शन होता ही है। राजीव पार्टी ने हमें बहुत कुछ सिखाया है, इस सीख को हम सभी याद रखें, आगे बढ़ते रहें, मृत्यु से ना डरें। मृत्यु से डर रहे हैं तो फिर बात हमने राजीव पार्टी को फेल कर दिया। विजय लक्ष्मी जी कुछ कहना चाहती हैं?
Hello, good evening, masters. Thank you for a wonderful session. Actually, I want to share one of my experience, near-death experience. Can I share it? Within 2 minutes, I'll share it.
Yes, please.
Yes, in 2002, once I had a tonsils operation. Tonsils का operation हुआ था. तब actually क्या हुआ था नहीं मालूम. Like they have put one oxygen cylinder. They bought some complication was happening there. And at that time, my soul came out of my body. I could experience that. And it was around 2 meters away from my body. And it was saying, कि तुमने किस लिए, what is your purpose of life? तुमने किस लिए जन्म लिया? And what you are doing? At that time, actually, Dhirubhai Ambani was also expired, I think. So his soul was with me only. And my soul was saying, he did so much for so many people. What did you do? And so on. It was advising me so many things. It was saying to me. So that like 5 minutes it was there, and again I was unconscious. Later on, when I came out of this unconscious state, I told to many people about this experience, but nobody believed. So like from past 1 year, I am doing meditation. So to the masters, if I say this experience, they are believing. So I could feel that this is a near-death experience. And now I don't have any fear about the death. Like there is no death for the soul. So I believe that.
Wow, great, beautiful. जो आपका एक्सपीरियंस है उसको लिख कर रखिए, और कभी ना कभी कहीं ना कहीं कोई ना कोई मिलेगा कहीं ना आपको अपॉर्चुनिटी उसको प्रॉपर्ली एक्सप्रेस करने की।
Yes,
अनीता मुरजानी, हम बहुत नाम सुनते हैं। अनीता मुरजानी के पास कैसे अपॉर्चुनिटी पहुंची? जो उसने एक्सपीरियंस उसने ब्लॉग लिख के रखा था। वेन डायर, जो अब अपने टाइम के बहुत सेलिब्रेटेड टीचर थे, रेस्पेक्टेड, और उन्होंने उनका वो ब्लॉग पढ़ लिया उन्होंने अपने पब्लिशर को बोला कि ट्रेस दिस लेडी और इसका बुक पब्लिश करो। वेंडर एक बहुत बड़ा नाम था, तो पब्लिशर ने ऑब्लाइज किया और अनीता मुरजानी आज कहां से कहां पहुंच गई। तो हम ब्लॉग लिख के रख सकते हैं, हम अपने एक्सपीरियंस को लिख के रख सकते हैं, तो वो सही समय पर अपना इम्पैक्ट लाएगा।
थैंक यू मास्टर।
मृत्यु से भयमुक्त होकर जीवन जिए, ये इस सीरीज का कोर लेसन है, कोर टीचिंग है। और किन्हीं को कुछ कहना हो तो बोल सकते हैं। हम हर रात में आउट ऑफ बॉडी होते हैं, लेकिन अनकॉन्शियस होते हैं। अगर हमारा शरीर स्वस्थ हो और हमारे भीतर भय नहीं हो, अपने स्पिरिट गाइड को हम बोलते रहें कि मुझे कॉन्शियस आउट ऑफ बॉडी होना है, कॉन्शियसली हम आउट ऑफ बॉडी भी हो सकते हैं। तो डेथ, एग्जैक्ट डेथ ना सही, लेकिन शरीर को बाहर से देखने का अनुभव भी हमें बहुत हेल्प कर देगा। चलिए, अनाउंसमेंट फॉर टुमारो ऑनवर्ड्स 50 स्पिरिचुअल क्लासिक हम करने जा रहे हैं। पहले भी ऐसे जिक्र मैंने कर दिया था। जो लोग पढ़ते हैं बुक मंगा लीजिए, आपके पास बुक होगी तो आप ज्यादा अपने आप को एजुकेट कर पाएंगे। 50 स्पिरिचुअल क्लासिक इज ए सो वंडरफुल बुक। अगले 50 साल तक आपको ये काम आती रहेगी, तो ऐसी बुक तो आपके पास होनी ही चाहिए। तो कल इसके इंट्रो से मैं शुरू करूंगा। इंट्रोडक्शन में टॉम बटलर बॉर्डन ने कुछ बातें लिखी हैं अपने हिसाब से, उसको हम थोड़ा देखेंगे और फिर एक एक चैप्टर होता जाएगा। MYD के है ऋषिकेश में 18 से 21, तो 4 दिन का बीच में गैप होगा, तो उस समय सेशन बंद रहेंगे और फिर हम रिज्यूम कर लेंगे उसके बाद।
Sir, good evening.